Hey everybody, and welcome back into another video. My name is Ty. Thanks for clicking on this one and joining me. Tonight I wanted to talk about one of my all-time favorite bands, Iron Maiden. A band I've seen a number of times, probably the most out of any band. I've been in love with them, since middle school. So yeah, they're one of my oldest loves in music. Still absolutely love the band. And yeah, I wanted to talk Iron Maiden. I wanted to rank the studio albums of Iron Maiden, all 17 of them, all 17 albums. That's absolutely ridiculous. Some bands are lucky to make it to like 5 or 6 albums. They've had a long and storied career of some absolutely stellar, amazing masterpieces to holy shit, what is this? In studio albums, you're going to run the gamut of that, absolute masterpiece to not good. And this tier ranker was already set up in here. It's got all the studio albums listed, not doing any live albums or the solo stuff or the side projects, anything like that tonight. 17 was enough fun for me. And we got masterpiece, great album, good. There's better and meh. I'm just leaving these the same. I'm also going to give you my number ranking as well. So there is that also. So we got a lot to cover, a lot of ground to cover. So let's get into it. The self-titled debut studio album from Iron Maiden with, of course, Iron Maiden. Absolutely iconic album cover. The first time many people in the world saw Eddie at the head. And what can I say that hasn't been said about Iron Maiden? This is a latter era reissue. One of the most stellar debuts of all time. If I do say so myself, this is obviously with Paul Di'Anno fronting the band, Dennis Stratton on guitar. So Adrian Smith hasn't even entered the band, Clyde Burr on drums. Of course, Steve Harris on bass. So with the Di'Anno era records, you're going to get into the more punky type of stuff. To me, this is easily probably the best debut album in the new wave of British heavy metal. It really doesn't get much better than this. It's an absolutely stellar album, still from top to bottom. Prowler's a great opening track. Remember Tomorrow, Running Free. Phantom of the Opera is the first Iron Maiden epic. Over 7 minutes, a great song. Transylvania, awesome instrumental. Strange World's a good song. Charlotte the Harlot, obviously a classic. And then, of course, closing it out is the iconic title track, Iron Maiden, which is still played and closes out every Iron Maiden show. So you can't go wrong with this album. Now, I know a lot of people that absolutely adore and love the Paul Di'Anno era, and some people say his 2 albums are the best, and when Bruce joined the band, it was all downhill from there. I am not one of those crazy people. Those people are absolutely insane. I like Paul for what he is. I do not think he's even nearly close to half the frontman, half the voice, half the talent that Bruce Dickinson is and was. But I like Paul, and I like his records. And his 2 records have a totally different vibe than the rest of the Maiden catalog. So I'm going to put the debut here at a great album, and I ranked it at number 6. So that's in the top third for me. And with 17 albums, unfortunately, even great albums are going to be kind of lower down on the list, but I feel like 6 is a good spot. So that was 1980. So we could move on to 1981 with the follow-up. And that, of course, is Killers. Probably one of their most iconic album covers. Absolutely stellar artwork by Derek Riggs. And this is another latter era reissue, but super album. I do not like it as much as the debut. I think it's a really good song, or good album, excuse me. I just think it's a step down from the debut. And I know that's probably crazy to some fans because a lot of people rank Killers as their best album ever. I like the production on the studio album. I like the fact that it's a little bit more raw and a little bit more punky. I thought it got too cleaned up on Killers for the Di'Anno sound. I don't mind a cleaned up Martin Birch production on the rest of the like Bruce stuff, but I think the Martin Birch production on this is... it doesn't really fit the vibe, but Wrathchild is a classic. Murders in the Rue Morgue, obviously a classic. Innocent Exile is a cool song. The title track is great. Purgatory is great. Absolutely stellar album. 38 minutes, the perfect runtime. I ranked 1981's Killers at number 7, and I'm gonna put it just below the self-titled debut. I'm going to put it in the good. This could adjust later. I know that's kind of blasphemous to some people. I've just always been drawn to the debut more. I think like Transylvania and Phantom of the Opera basically beat anything that's on Killers. And then, of course, you get the iconic Iron Maiden title track, and it's kind of just a done deal from there. I do like Killers, just not as much. That's why it comes in at number 7. And the band is just cooking on all cylinders at this point. 3 years, 3 albums. We get one of the most iconic albums of all time, and that's Number of the Beast. A lot of people's introduction into Iron Maiden. It obviously has some of their most iconic songs, the title track, Number of the Beast, and, of course, Run to the Hills. This is also the first album with... Bruce Dickinson, the iconic frontman of the band. Second album with Adrian Smith. Adrian Smith was on Killers. It is the last album with Clive Burr on drums. It's an absolute classic album. I have a little bit of fatigue with the album. I'm not going to lie. Invaders is probably easily the worst track on there, maybe Gangland. But Children of the Damned, The Prisoner, 22 Acacia Avenue, The Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, Hallowed Be Thy Name. Hallowed Be Thy Name is probably one of the greatest Iron Maiden songs of all time. Easily 39 minutes again, perfect track length. I think the production, Martin Birch nailed it on this record. I think it introduces Bruce to the world. Obviously the scream on Number of the Beast kind of just says... Here we go. I honestly think the side 1 and side 2 should have been flipped. Side 2 should become side 1. The album should have opened with Number of the Beast, not Invaders, and Run to the Hills should have been the second song. That's my only nitpicks on here. Something like Invaders is not a good song, but everything else is absolutely stellar on it. And some of the band's most iconic work. I ranked it at number 5 myself. I'm going to put it in... I'm going to put it in great album territory. I know that's kind of blasphemous, but just because of what I have above it, I don't want to load the masterpiece section up here. But yeah, I put it at number 5. I still love Number of the Beast, spin it quite often, but I think it's just kind of suffering from that played out stuff, and I don't need to hear Run to the Hills and Number of the Beast every time I see them. I understand they do it because a lot of younger fans especially, are seeing Iron Maiden for the first time. Here's the 40th anniversary edition. This is a great set to own because you get Beast over Hammersmith in there as well for the first time on vinyl. So that's absolutely stellar. Great set for Number of the Beast, 40th anniversary. So yeah, absolutely stellar album. I put it at 5. It's in the great album territory. Moving on. We're getting to 1983, so we're in 4 years and 4 albums territory. I would argue that this 5-year run that they had is arguably probably the best in all of music history. These 5 albums in a row are just absolutely stellar. And of course, we're talking about 1983's Peace of Mind. Now, if I would have done this like 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, Number of the Beast would have definitely ranked higher. But as I've gotten older and wanted to hear other things, I've grown to really appreciate Peace of Mind. The length is 45 minutes. That's about my cutoff for albums, which we'll talk about on latter era Maiden. This is the first album with Nico McBrain on drums. I think most people who are into drumming probably appreciate Clive's work more, but I like Nico. I think he's a really cool dude. I think he's good for the band, and I think all his albums are competent, and I think he's still a good drummer even in his advanced age, and especially after he just had it recovering from his stroke too. So really cool dude, and this is the kind of classic era lineup, I guess I should say, that most people know and recognize. As far as tracks, Where Eagles Dare, amazing opener. Revelations, an amazing Bruce Dickinson written song. Flight of Icarus, Adrian Smith and Bruce. Those are my favorite songwriters in Maiden, so you're going to hear that often as far as their songs together. Some of my favorites. Die With Your Boots On, that's just side one, man. The Trooper is not worn out to me. I still absolutely love The Trooper, even more so than Run to the Hills and Number the Beast, where those songs are kind of played out. Trooper is definitely not. Still Life is a cool song. I like Quest for Fire. To Tame a Land is a great closer at 7:26. That's kind of the epic on this album. So yeah, Peace of Mind. Where did I put that? I put it at number 4, and I'm going to put it under the great album territory as well. I'm going to save Masterpiece for probably the top 3. So yeah, that is that's a 4 album run. That's absolutely ridiculous. And then when we get to 1984, we get to 1984's Power Slave. Absolutely stellar album cover. One of my all-time favorite album covers is Power Slave. I think Derek did just an excellent job on this one, man. So much detail. You can get lost in it for hours while you're listening to the album. It fits the motif, everything we got going on. Plus, these early issues had the textured album cover, which is really cool too. Power Slave, I know, is a record that some people are saying is kind of played out too. I've heard that a lot from Iron Maiden fans. But to me, Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, those are two of the best Iron Maiden album openers of all time. Absolutely iconic songs. Flash of the Blade is a really cool Bruce Dickinson pen song. Back in the Village is The Duelist is kind of okay. But Power Slave, the title track, and Rime of the Ancient Mariner to close it out, those are the two best Iron Maiden closers probably of all time. And then this album has the two best openers in Aces High and 2 Minutes to Midnight. It's absolutely stellar. I put Power Slave at number 3 on my ranking, or number 2, excuse me. And yeah, it's a masterpiece. I absolutely love this record. Plus, when you tie it in with kind of Live After Death and the whole tour that they did, the Power Slave World Tour, it's obviously iconic. So many dates and just a kick-ass tour. I mean, it's so cool they basically redid it. So yeah, Power Slave coming in at number 2. It is my second favorite Maiden record. Now, Peace of Mind could potentially overtake that someday. Honestly, but I don't think so, because the songs that I love on Power Slave, like I absolutely love and I never get tired of. So Power Slave is we're stepping into the more proggy direction too. I think that's kind of a stepping stone album to our next record. Again, those are 5 records in 5 years, and look at those albums. Like, most bands would be lucky to have one album this good in 5 years. This next album is a stark transition from Power Slave. And Power Slave was a stepping stone. We get to Somewhere in Time, my all-time favorite album cover from any band. Definitely favorite Maiden cover. You got the Cyborg Eddie. You got the Blade Runner influence. You get more synth in this album. Not as much as the next album, but you do get more synth. So you're getting into way more like proggy territory with 1986's Somewhere in Time, again produced by Martin Birch. You're getting longer. You're getting 51 minutes. But to me, like, these early Maidens are so good. Even when they get to the 50-minute territory, I'm okay. Caught Somewhere in Time, great opener. Wasted Years, one of my favorite Maiden tracks of all time, penned by the great Adrian Smith. Sea of Madness is a cool song. Heaven Can't Wait is a great song, even though we're kind of getting into the just use the song title as the chorus kind of stuff. Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner is a great song. Stranger in a Strange Land is probably my favorite with that bass. Boom, ba-da-boom, ba-da-boom, great song. Deja Vu is okay. And Alexander the Great, obviously classic, and they're finally playing it live. This is a heavy Harris record, honestly. Adrian and Steve basically wrote most of the stuff on this. I absolutely adore Somewhere in Time. I know a lot of people, especially in today's age, say Somewhere in Time is the best Maiden record. I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to put it at number 3, but I am going to put it in the masterpiece territory. I think it's essential listening for any metal, self-respecting metal or Iron Maiden fan for sure. So next up, if you've been a subscriber on the channel and been a follower of the channel, you know that Seventh Son of a Seventh Son is one of my all-time favorite albums. On some days, it would probably be number 1. I absolutely love this record. It's kind of the first true Maiden concept record, and they embraced their progginess, and they embraced synth. I absolutely love 80s synth and guitar synth, so this is right up my alley. It's pretty much always been my favorite Maiden record. It's going to be clearly at number 1 for sure for me in ranking, and it's definitely in the masterpiece territory. To me, like, they built up to this record. Power Slave to Somewhere in Time to Seventh Son of a Seventh Son is a great stepping stone there. We're building those blocks to get to Seventh Son. And we'll talk about the next record. I wish they would have just kept building on that. I understand why they didn't, just because they kind of went as far as they could with this sound, I think. Yeah, I mean, this is the last studio record to have that kind of classic lineup, because Adrian Smith would leave the band after this. And he left the band because he didn't really like where they were going on the next record. So it's kind of telling. Obviously, Adrian wanted to probably keep going in this vein. But yeah, I don't know what else I could say about this record that hasn't already been said. It's absolutely one of my favorite albums of all time. Moonchild, Infinite Dreams, Can I Play With Madness, The Evil That Men Do. The Evil That Men Do is probably the best Maiden song ever written. Can I Play With Madness is probably their best hit ever written. The title track, 9 minutes, 52 seconds of just, it's a masterpiece. The Prophecy, Clairvoyant, Only the Good Die Young to close it out, man. You get a lot of Dickinson on here, Adrian and Steve. I think they're kind of all writing at their peak, to be honest with you. And yeah, it's my number 1. It's one of my all-time favorite records. So, all right, let's talk about the follow-up from 1990. Martin Birch still twiddling the knobs, and that is No Prayer for the Dying. This is easily one of my most hated Iron Maiden albums. And it's kind of weird. I don't know if I hate it so much just because it's so different than Seventh Son, or it's just because it's a bad album. I think it's a little bit of both. This is the first album with Yannick Gers coming into the band to replace Adrian. So look into that what you will. I mean, Adrian's essential to this band. He's a great songwriter, a great guitar player. Him and Dave together is a dynamic duo. It's, you know, it's like Glenn and KK from Priest. They're two of the best duo guitar players in history of music. So that hurts this record. I like Yannick. I don't hate him as much as most modern Maiden fans do. But this record, man, Tail Gunner is an okay opener. And then, like, Holy Smoke is one of the dumbest Iron Maiden songs ever. Hooks in You is a okay song. Adrian Smith does have a writing credit on that. Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. You either love it or you hate it. I do still kind of enjoy it. I love the horror connection there with Nightmare on Elm Street. Mother Russia is easily the best song on here. It's the 10th track. I think that's the kind of deep cut gem. I don't like the production on this record. It went in a completely different direction than Seventh Son. I think it's the worst produced Martin Birch record by far. So yeah, I've been shitting on it the whole time. I'm going to put it in the meh territory. I know some people love this record. For whatever reason, they stand it and they stand by it to the death. But I'm going to put it at number 16. So I only ranked one album lower. And yeah, I'm going to put it in the meh territory. And honestly, if I change this would be like kind of just not even worth talking about or listening to. The follow-up, though, Fear of the Dark in 92. Again, we get Martin Birch. Also a Steve Harris production credit on here, too. But Fear of the Dark, I think, is a good combination of where they were going with like Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son and No Prayer for Thine, where No Prayer for Thine went to the right field or left field way too much. Fear of the Dark is a good compromise. Again, 1992. It doesn't really sound of its time. They haven't started falling into like the trappings of like early 90s rock or metal. Be Quick or Be Dead is a stellar opener. From Here to Eternity, I absolutely love that track. Afraid to Shoot Strangers is a cool song. Childhood's End, I really dig. Wasting Love is a good song. I know that kind of gets crapped on as because it's a Maiden ballad, but I really enjoy the song. Yeah, and then Fear of the Dark, the title track, is an absolutely classic Maiden song. They play at every show. It's the epic of this. It's 7 minutes, 16 seconds. This album is getting long, 57 minutes total run length. But when I go for this record, I do tend to really enjoy it. I put it at number 9, so I'm going to put it in the good territory. A lot of tracks in here I don't mind at all. I honestly wish they would probably play more of these. Yeah, and Yannick has a lot of writing credits on this, which a lot of records he doesn't. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, I really enjoy Fear of the Dark, and I think it's kind of one of the more underrated Maiden records, if I do say so myself. And it's the last Maiden record for a very long time with one Bruce Dickinson, because at this point Bruce is leaving. Bruce wants to really focus on his solo stuff. And we're going to bring in a new singer. We're going to bring in Blaze Bayley to front on this record, The X Factor, the 10th studio album by Iron Maiden. Steve Harris is going to be basically the head producer on this, along with Nigel Green. But this is where Steve really took control of that, and it's telling for sure. I don't think they ever should have gotten rid of Martin Birch. I think bands should definitely grow and try to change and challenge themselves, but at this point we kind of get into the territory where it's Steve's band. He's not going to want any pushback, and what he says goes, and he's one of the greatest of all time, so I get it. But I still think bands need to challenge themselves sometimes, and producers shouldn't be yes men, which we'll talk about on the more modern Maiden records. As far as the X Factor, it's not completely horrendous. I don't think Blaze Bayley should have ever been the lead singer for Iron Maiden. He does not fit what the band is trying to do. He could never sing the Bruce songs live. They were way out of his range. He blew his voice out on tours. It was not a good fit. I think Blaze is a really good guy, but it's not a good fit. This record, too, in 95, man, I mean, the production on it is very 90s, but it's 70 minutes long. It's way too long. So they're kind of falling down that rabbit hole. They were kind of fighting against the kind of more modern sounds. Some of the songs I like, Sign of the Cross is a really good song. It's done really well when Bruce does it. Lord of the Flies is a good one. And Man on the Edge. That's about it. I put the X Factor at number 15. And I'm going to put it in there as better, just because I don't think anything's really going to fall in here. It could honestly go in the meh territory too. Now, the follow-up, Virtual 11, released 3 years later in 1998. This great album cover. I really love the album cover. And that's probably about the most I'm going to say that I actually really love about this album. I think Future Real is a absolutely stellar Iron Maiden opener. I think that song would be way better if Bruce was singing on it and not Blaze, but I think it's a stellar Maiden opener. The real benefit of this album is it only comes in at 53 minutes, which is not 70 like the previous album, so that's nice. They did cut some things. Future Real is a great song. The Klansman is a great song. Angel and Gambler is probably the worst Iron Maiden song of all time. That's it. Listen to Future Real. Listen to The Klansman. I'm going to put it in meh. And I ranked it at number 17. So it's going to come in last, which is probably no shock if you're watching this. So, at this point, Maiden's playing clubs. They're down and out, especially in the States. Metal's not popular. Like I said, Blaze was never going to work out in this band. He can't sing the Bruce songs. He can't even really sing the Paul songs. He's just such a weird singer with a weird voice. It's very stand out. It stands out a lot, his voice, and he does have a weird charisma in his voice, but it just doesn't fit Iron Maiden. I never found that it fit. I know that Blaze and Steve were soccer buddies or football buddies, and if you're not in the States, but that doesn't mean he should be singing for the band. So 2000, they make up with one Mr. Bruce Dickinson, and they also make up with Adrian Smith. So basically that classic era lineup is back together. They kept Yannick in the band, so you got 3 guitar players. They never really used the 3 guitar players all that well. Halloween does that really well in modern times. Yannick I like Yannick. I don't hate Yannick, but he's not needed in the band. I admire them that they've kept him employed for so long and, gave him a really good paycheck and whatnot. But, he's never been needed. So we're getting into reunion era Iron Maiden. This is 2000's Brave New World. Like I said, they got the band back together. This is an absolutely super hyped album, to say the least. I think it's one of the best reunion records probably of all time. I absolutely love Brave New World. I still do. I think the production on it is not great. Kevin Shirley was introduced into the Maiden fold at this point, and Kevin Shirley's a yes man. He's just going to do whatever Steve Harris tells him to do. And but I think this is the best balance of that. I think the production gets way worse as we go along. The Wicker Man, stellar opener. Ghost of the Navigator, great song. Brave New World, another great song. Blood Brothers, a great song. Out of the Silent Planet is one of my favorite reunion era Maiden songs for sure. So a lot of good songs on this record. I put it at number 8 on it, so I'm going to put it in the good territory. And honestly, these could probably go up to great, especially Killers could probably go. I'll put Killers up to great. Brave New World, I'll put the good. I'll put it ahead of Fear of the Dark, though. I think if you're going to listen to reunion era Bruce, I definitely think Brave New World's probably your best option. I absolutely still love the record. And I know some people have kind of soured on it, and it's kind of got that stank on it because a lot of the modern Maiden stuff isn't loved, especially by the older fans, but I still like Brave New World. The follow-up, which is absolutely one of the worst covers of all time, not just for Iron Maiden, but definitely of all time, Dance of Death from 2003. So you got a 3-year layoff, and then you got the follow-up to Brave New World. I like Dance of Death. Album cover notwithstanding, for sure. Wildest Dreams is a cool song. Rainmaker is an awesome song. The production on this record is ass, though. No More Lies is a good song. Dance of Death, the title track, is really cool. Passchendaele is an absolutely stellar Iron Maiden epic. Journeyman I really like. I do enjoy this record. I do not like the production. I put it at number 11. and I'm going to put it in the good territory. I think it's definitely a step down from Brave New World, but yeah, it's still worth listening to. I think we're not into the bad modern Maiden, and I don't even really say it's bad. It just doesn't live up to what they did before, which is hard to do. It's 67 minutes. Again, all these albums are way too freaking long, way too long. But yeah, whatever. Let's get into like a really long record that for some odd reason I do still really enjoy. It's 71 minutes long, almost 72. And that is 2006's A Matter of Life and Death. I know some people absolutely hate this record because during this tour, they played the entire thing live. And that pissed off a lot of people. And I get it. I still respect it because Iron Maiden's a band that kind of does what they want to do still, which is nice. But I get it. Like, you want to hear those classics. You don't want to hear 70 minutes of this brand new record, especially for a legacy band. I like this record a lot. Different World's a good song. It's Adrian Smith penning it with Steve. These Colors Don't Run is a Bruce Dickinson credit. I like that song. Brighter Than a Thousand Suns I really like. The Reincarnation of Benjamin Brieg is one of my favorite reunion era songs. That's Dave Murray and Harris. Dave doesn't have a lot of classic writing credits. Classic songs anyway. For the Greater Good of God, another great song written by Harris, 923. So a ton of long songs. Again, Kevin Shirley is an awful producer. I shouldn't be so mean. Like, he has done some good work in his previous days as like an engineer with Rush, but as far as our producer, like, I don't love it. I don't like any of his work. I put A Matter of Life and Death at number 10 overall, and I'm gonna put it in the good territory. I do really enjoy it, and actually, Sam loves it so much he had to fall down off my shelf and say that he also loves A Matter of Life and Death. I'm gonna put it at number 10. I'm gonna put it in good. I think it's definitely worth listening to. Next record, Final Frontier, 2010. Super hyped for this album when it came out. It was rumored to be the last album. It's the 15th studio album by the band with the Final Frontier. Everybody thought, oh no, this is it. So there was a lot of hype going into this record. It's 76 minutes long. Again, this thing is absolutely way too long. The production on it, again, is pretty awful. There is a couple of redeeming tracks on here. I like this record a lot, or I shouldn't say a lot. I tried to convince myself to like this record a lot when it first came out. The opening track, I don't mind. It's too long for an Iron Maiden opener, but I don't mind it. El Dorado is a pretty cool song. The Alchemist is probably my favorite song on the album at 4 minutes, 29 seconds. So what's that tell you? When the Wild Wind Blows, I like that song quite a bit too. I think it's actually a really good Steve Harris written epic. It's over 10 minutes, but this album's too long. The production on it's not good. I put it at number 14, and I want to put it in the meh category. So we're almost done trekking through these. We got Book of Souls next. That was released in 2015. I remember being, again, super hyped for this record, even though it was, slowly grew way disappointed in the Final Frontier. I think this is a step up from the Final Frontier. It is absolutely way too long, 92 minutes long. The really frustrating about modern Iron Maiden is if they would just self-edit, if Steve or Kevin Shirley would just self-edit just a little bit, like these okay to mid records could become good to great albums. If you just shaved off 30 minutes off this album, 40 minutes off this album. It does not need to be 92 minutes. You don't need a double album. It is what it is. If Eternity Should Fail Absolutely stellar song written by Bruce. I like that song a lot. I think his version that just came out on the Mandrake project is better. Speed of Light, really good song. Adrian Smith, Dickinson, only 5 minutes long. Red in the Black, I like it. It's 13 minutes, Steve. 13 minutes. The title track, I don't hate it, but again, it's 10 minutes, man. Side one of this thing is 50 minutes long, or disc one, I should say. That's going to be two LPs already. Death or Glory, I like. That's another Adrian Smith and Bruce song in only 5 minutes, so you can kind of see the tension within the band as far as their writing styles go. What else? Empire of the Clouds, 18 minutes long. You would think it was a Steve Harris song. It's a Bruce Dickinson song. I really like it. It's 18 minutes, man, so I get it why people don't. I really dig that song. There is some redeemable stuff here. I'm going to put it in the There's Better category. I think it's worth listening to, but it's a hard listen at over 90 minutes long, man. It's too long. There is some great Maiden songs. Empire of the Clouds is a really cool song. Speed of Light, If Eternity Should Fail, those are probably the best songs on the record. But for me anyway, Death or Glories, like I said, is good too. But yeah, it's just too freaking long, man. And the production is awful. The production is so bad. It's one of the most annoying things to watch bands like Iron Maiden and Metallica, who had some of the best production back in the day, go from absolutely stellar production in the 80s to absolutely atrocious in their modern era. It doesn't make any sense. Just producer, somebody needs to come in and go, hey, just make a record sound like when Martin Birch was with you guys. Like, there you go, man. Everybody's gonna go crazy, kind of like what Priest has done. But anyway, let's get to the last record, the most recent and perhaps final Iron Maiden record. I doubt it. That is 2021's Senjutsu. Again, I was hyped for this record. I love the kind of build to the Maiden records. I love the singles and the videos and just the fan base getting together every 3 or 4 years and being really stoked. I dig that. When some of the records fall short, it is what it is. But I don't hate Senjutsu. I think there's a lot of good on here. It's shorter than Book of Souls at 80 minutes. It's still absolutely, 30 minutes at the most too long, at the least, I should say. But I do enjoy it. The title track's okay. That's an Adrian Smith, Steve Harris joint. 8 minutes, though. Stratego is a cool song. It's Organic and Harris. It's only 4:59 though. So again, Writing on the Wall, I do really like. It's kind of got the Western-ish vibe to it, which I like. It's Adrian and Bruce. I like their songs generally most of the time. Days of Future Past, I really like. That's Adrian and Bruce at 4 minutes. The Time Machine is a really cool song at 7. Death of the Celts is really cool. 10 minutes, 20 seconds though. Hell on Earth. It's another Steve song. Like, the record just ends. Steve, 10 minutes. A Steve song. 12 minutes. A Steve song. 11 minutes. Like, the end of this record is a slog. Like, I wish the track listing was a little different. I put Senjutsu at number 12. I'm going to put it in the There's Better category. I think it's definitely a step up from these two. I think it's well above these. We'll order those like that. They'll go right to left as far as, like, worst to best in these categories. That's probably the way I'd order that. I'll probably go, definitely like that with that tier. And then this tier, definitely Seventh Son on top, Power Slave, and then Somewhere in Time. So that's it, guys. That's my ranking. I know this was a long one. I appreciate you guys watching. What is your favorite Iron Maiden record? Leave that down below. What's your top 5? What do you think about the different eras of the band? I mean, very few bands survive 3 different lead singers with very, very different singing styles. And they're one of the very few bands that have done it. So I applaud them. They still put on a tremendous show. Honestly, these newer Maiden tracks are way better live because it doesn't have that shitty Kevin Shirley and Steve Harris production over it. So yeah, this is fun. Again, I'd probably rather listen to Virtual 11 probably than most bands, just because I love Iron Maiden. I'll listen to even their worst record and still find things to enjoy about it. But it is what it is. That's my ranking. No other rankings need apply here. This is the definitive Iron Maiden ranking. So like I said, leave your comments down below. Like the video. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll see you next time, guys. Peace.